Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're going to pull back the curtain on the hidden world of AI. We're not talking about the software, but the actual physical hardware, the silicon and the incredible power that holds up our entire digital future.
Okay, so let's just dive right in with a question that, it seems simple at first, but it really unpacks the entire industry. If a company like OpenAI is on the absolute bleeding edge of AI, why on earth aren't they building their own custom chips to run it?
Well, the answer to that question gets you right to the heart of this massive tension in the industry. It's this fundamental clash between the blistering, lightning speed of AI software development and the slow, methodical, and unbelievably expensive world of making hardware.
I mean, to put this into perspective, making a new, top-of-the-line chip isn't something you do over a long weekend. We're talking about a colossal undertaking. It takes anywhere from 5 to 10 years, and it costs tens of billions of dollars. By the time your chip is finally ready for market, the AI you originally designed it for, it might be ancient history.
At the end of the day, it really just comes down to a company's DNA. OpenAI's magic is in algorithms, in data, in new ways of training models. Chip design, that's a completely different universe of skills. You need a deep, deep understanding of semiconductor physics, and you have to be able to survive these crazy long, super risky hardware cycles. It's kind of like asking a Michelin star chef to also go out and forge their own knives from raw iron ore.
And here's the kicker. They don't have to. Because of their huge partnership with Microsoft, who is building its own chips like Maya, OpenAI really gets the best of both worlds. They get a guaranteed supply of chips, they get priority access, and they get all of that without shouldering the mind-boggling risk of building their own factories.
This is honestly the perfect metaphor for their strategy. They are laser-focused on driving the fastest car. That's advancing AI. They're not interested in the multi-decade, multi-billion-dollar nightmare of actually paving the roads themselves. They just let other people handle the infrastructure.
So, this choice of hardware, it is absolutely fundamental. Right now, the AI world is pretty much dominated by two main types of chips: GPUs, which you might know from gaming, and TPUs, which are these very specialized, custom-built processors.
And when you look at them side by side, you see this really clear trade-off. NVIDIA's GPUs are basically the Swiss Army knife of the AI world. They're incredibly flexible, they're backed by this massive developer ecosystem, and you can use them pretty much anywhere. Google's TPUs, on the other hand, are like a specialized scalpel. They're hyper-efficient for certain tasks, but they pretty much lock you into Google's world.
So what this all boils down to is that the chip you choose, it basically screams your company's core strategy to the world. Companies like OpenAI and Meta, who are all about rapid experimentation and research, they go for GPUs. But Google, who needs to run its gigantic, mature systems at an unimaginable scale as cheaply as possible, they rely on their own custom TPUs.
And this might seem like just a nerdy technical decision, right? But the consequences, they ripple out and scale up from one company's strategy to the entire landscape of global power. The battle for AI supremacy has become a battle for hardware. You've probably heard this phrase thrown around a lot, and for good reason. Just like oil literally shaped the 20th century, computational power, what we call compute, is shaping the 21st. The nation, or the company, that controls the supply of these advanced chips, well, they pretty much control the future.
So why are the stakes just so incredibly high? Well, because when you control compute, you're not just controlling silicon, you're controlling the very engines of modern society. How we create new knowledge, our economic productivity, military power, even how we teach our kids. It touches absolutely everything.
And look, this isn't some far-off theoretical thing. It is happening right now. When the US government puts restrictions on exporting advanced GPUs to other countries, it's basically drawing invisible borders around the world. Suddenly, access to the most powerful AI isn't just about having money, it's about geopolitics. These chips have become weapons in a whole new kind of global competition.
Okay, so this is all pretty huge and complex, right? Geopolitics, silicon sovereignty, AI. How do we even begin to wrap our heads around this in a way that actually makes sense on a human level?
Well, there's actually a pretty simple metaphor that helps make sense of the whole thing. If you think of AI models as these emerging brains of our world, then these specialized chips, they're the high-energy food that those brains need to grow. And the unbelievable amount of electricity they consume, that's the blood that keeps it all pumping.
Now, really think about what that implies. If only a tiny handful of companies or countries get to control the food supply for these AI brains, then they are the ones who decide which brains get to grow, what those brains get to learn, and ultimately, what they get to say. That is a staggering concentration of power. Which brings us to a really fundamental choice. A choice about the kind of future we actually want to build. And we can frame that choice with three really powerful ideas: the Leviathan, the Sprout, and the Anchor. First up, the Leviathan. Just picture this massive, centralized beast. This is the current race to build bigger and bigger AI systems. It's the path of giant corporations and governments, creating these incredibly powerful but often totally opaque black box intelligences.
But then, in complete contrast to that, you have the Sprout. This is the grassroots approach. It's all about local creativity, community-led AI projects. It's about putting the tools in the hands of students and small labs to see what they can grow, to foster innovation from the bottom up.
And finally, this might just be the most important one, you have the Anchor. The Anchor is that non-negotiable foundation of ethics, wisdom, and human responsibility. The Anchor is what forces us to slow down and ask not just, can we build this, but wait, should we build this? And who gets to decide?
And how these three things interact, well, that's everything. An AI future without that ethical anchor just creates an uncontrollable Leviathan. An AI future without the creative local Sprout just becomes this centralized, homogeneous empire. But if you can balance both, you might just have the foundations for a true AI-powered civilization.
So what this really means for all of us, whether you're an educator, a parent, or a policymaker, is that the real work isn't just about teaching people how to use these cool new AI tools. The real work is about consciously building a counterbalance to this huge centralizing force by teaching power, awareness, and responsibility.
And so that leaves us with one last question, and this one's for all of us to think about. In our work, in our communities, in our own families, which path are we choosing? Are we feeding the Leviathan? Are we nurturing the Sprout? Or are we strengthening the Anchor? The choice we make is going to define our future.